So my videos are normally way more animated than this, but this video is going to be a bit lower budget with almost no movements because aside from me wanting to get it out faster, I thought it would also be clever since it would kind of reflect the video topic. You know that feeling when you have something to do but you just can't be bothered to stand up to do it? You might generally associate that with laziness, but laziness is something that has its own complexity to understand, and that specific situation could actually go deeper than that. Laziness is the state of being unable to really do anything or be active, mainly because it's more comforting with no burden of using your energy, and you feel like forgetting about everything else. Sometimes, though, that's not necessarily the sole reason. It could also be because of psychological problems like depression or burnout subconsciously existing even when you don't think it's there. And in that case, of course, it would be wrong to blindly blame laziness for such a thing. But anyway, we're not talking psychology here. We're here to talk about laziness as its own basic thing. Being lazy is something that should at best be taken moderately. Because on the one hand, unless you have to train very intensely like an actor who has to look tough for a movie scene, or you're someone who really looks forward to bodybuilding, partaking in intense activity over prolonged periods of time without break is pretty much guaranteed to break you to a point where you either never feel the same again, or you feel resentful towards it. At the same time, though, there's a reason why sloth is one of the so-called 7 deadly sins. Aside from low productivity and activity generally being a burden on yourself and others, it could literally impact your physical health. These websites cite that sitting down or lying down too much can cause effects like increased risk of obesity, abnormal metabolism rates, increased risk of type 2 diabetes, shorter lifespans, higher risk of blood clotting, etc. There was also an interesting habit popularized on TikTok called bed rotting, which although might give beneficial relaxation at first, is said to lead to muscle stiffness and even insomnia. Another scientific quirk that I think is important to mention is that exercise can actually impact the genetics of future generations. A lab study involving mice found that offspring of those who are more active are more likely to be active than offspring of those who are less active. And this can happen similarly to people too. Not because of instigating, although that might play some part, but because exercise actually builds a dopamine system which can affect the genes of the offspring and motivate them to exercise more. And yes, this implies that there is a kind of couch potato gene. But it can still be acted against. It doesn't necessarily mean we are born lazy or something. You can still train your dopamine system to adapt. The answer to all this is something that's basically cliche but still important. Balance. Yin and yang. Too much of something isn't always a good thing, so sometimes you gotta get the middle ground. Resting is just as important as activity, and neither should be included in life without the other. If they were, it would be bad for us either way, for the reasons I just voiced. One more topic I'd like to address is procrastination. You've probably experienced procrastination at some point in your life, whether it be with stuff like school assignments or making videos. Putting off seemingly stressful tasks because relaxing seems more comfortable, only to have an endlessly heightening anxiety for putting it off in the first place. A vicious cycle. It happens because we are having a subconscious response of fear or insecurity to something that feels threatening, even though an assignment is not the same as, say, an animal attacking you. It is usually associated with laziness, but in reality, it's kind of different from it. Actually, procrastinators might not necessarily be lazy. It could be from a difficulty of regulating feelings, or maybe they're just not in the mood. Procrastinating temporarily reduces stress, so it's used as a coping mechanism in this kind of situation. Of course, it doesn't mean that they are surely incapable of doing it, it's just an explanation for why they're not doing it. Now granted, you might not see that itself being the reason too often, but it's still important to note. The habit of procrastinating can be stopped by acknowledging your feelings on it, putting away distractions, journaling why you're stressed from it, and making sure not to be too hard on yourself about dealing with it. I've been having an issue of not being bothered to work on long-form animations, thinking that there was a bit of a laziness and procrastination problem at play. There were a couple of factors like occasional school exams, but even when those weren't much of an issue, I also just couldn't be motivated or even discipline myself to start scripting one of the 6 video ideas I just noted down. But I did throw shots at animating a couple of times during this period, especially more often in January as I'm writing this. I've been animating small GIFs to use in things like group chats, and I'd say they helped me maintain my grip on animating in spite of getting compelled to continue bed rotting every day. So basically, I was procrastinating, and then I stopped procrastinating, kind of, but I was focusing on a different thing. So, anyhow, yes, I have been animating, just not here. But of course, I don't want to leave this channel in the dust. So, I guess if I gotta stand up to my habit of laziness, then so I may. Hey guys, so I'm finally done with this video. Yeah, I really have a pretty bad upload schedule, don't I? I've been busy with a couple of things, like exams, but I was also just too lazy to do it. Well, not exactly. I've been making GIFs, just like I said at the end of this video. And because of that, well, I felt a little bit too strained to make another video for the time being. So, yeah, there's that. I mean, I was thinking about ways that maybe I can animate multiple things at once. But right now, I am simply not capable of that. Okay, yeah, so I'm finally giving another video. Maybe I will make more in the future. And it's quite ironic how, I'm wanting to be a computer scientist or something, but I decided to make a more biology-related video. I mean, I totally did not intend to, but yeah. Anyway, goodbye.